Bianna Golodryga is a Yahoo News and Finance anchor. She was born in Moldova in the former Soviet Union and has covered the U.S. and Russia story extensively. Bianna, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Russia's not going to help the U.S. in this situation, are they?
Yeah, I can't imagine that Russia will be helping the U.S., nor is that on their agenda. You heard the president saying he doesn't have much of an agenda going into this. Well, I think North Korea changed.
Yeah, he says no formal agenda, but it certainly seems like this will now give them something else to talk about.
Yeah, I think it will give them something to talk about. And in a sense, this is a plus for President Trump in a way that he doesn't necessarily have to focus on sanctions, doesn't have to focus on the cyber attacks, doesn't have to focus on Ukraine or even Syria. First and foremost, they're going to be focused on North Korea. North Korea is bordered with Russia right now, so Russia does have a vested interest in de-escalating the tension. Russia, unlike China, however, doesn't have much leverage, given that there's not much of a trading relationship between the two countries. Having said that, Russia does employ some North Koreans as well, so there is something for them to bring to the table. And we've heard from Putin right now with China saying that, listen, we think that North Korea can freeze their nuclear ambitions if the U.S. and South Korea sort of curtail their military exercises in the region.
What do you think that Putin wants from this meeting?
Well, look, this will be their first meeting between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. The pressure is very high. Putin, unlike President Trump.
Pressure on who, do you think?
Pressure on, well, obviously pressure on President Trump, because he's sort of boxed in many ways here. If he doesn't bring up the cyber attacks, if he doesn't bring up Ukrainian sanctions, then you're going to hear a lot of backlash here at home. There's a lot of anticipation. But for Vladimir Putin, remember, one of his biggest angst was being called a regional power by President Obama. He wants to look like a global power. And in a sense, everything that we've talked about this past year leading up to the election has put him in those ranks. This will be their first meeting before President Putin is expected to launch a re-election campaign next year. And he does want to look like he's coming away with something. And from what we're hearing at home, the president has asked for deliverables to give to Vladimir Putin. So Vladimir Putin's really going to look as if he's coming away with something. At least that's what he wants to appear to be looking at.
Go ahead, Rena.
The president also said back in April that it's an all-time low, the relationship between Russia and the U.S. So what do you think is going to really come from this?
Look, the bar is not very high in the sense that if the president doesn't give away classified information to the Russians, that's going to be seen as an achievement. If he doesn't have these photo ops where he looks like he's very cordial and comfortable with Vladimir Putin, that will be an achievement as well. So you want the president coming in with a sense of talking points. Obviously, North Korea has given him that. But I will be curious, and I do think it is important to bring up Ukraine, to bring up sanctions, and he can do it in a way that says, listen, I want to release these and lift these sanctions as much as you do. But
should he bring up Russian election meddling? We keep hearing there's no formal agenda, that he will just see how it goes. Should he bring that up?
Absolutely, he should bring that up. And he doesn't have to bring it up in the sense of, listen, I think that's the reason why I won. There's all this pressure and that you sort of hacked the election. You don't have to go there. All that you have to say is, listen, let's work on a way and a plan to eliminate cyber attacks going forward in future elections. We hear that they're meddling in European elections. There's a German election coming up. Obviously, we have elections here at home in 2018 and 2020. If there's any way that we can de-escalate cyber attacks coming from both sides, then that's something that they can start with, because you know that Angela Merkel is going to be raising this issue with him if President Trump does not.
Well, there will be a lot to watch on Friday. Good to see you.
Good to see you guys. Happy 4th.
I want to sing your name.
I don't hear that very often. Thank you.
Thank you very much.